good morning or afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining us today on today's session. It's titled Reducing Risk Associated with Multiple Data Sources, How to Use Autodesk Docs as your FTP. Really interesting topic, and it might be a little bit outside of the wheelhouse as what we're typically used to thinking about when we're thinking about an Autodesk Construction Cloud platform or one of their modules. So with that being said, I'm your host. My name's Bryan Novotny. I'm a solutions consultant here at US CAD for our architecture and engineering team. AEC, first and foremost, US CAD is a technology partner within the AEC technology community. We pride ourselves in the ability as an AE team to work with all of our clients and future clients as well. We like to partner with you guys, our teams, and we like to provide you with the right recommendations, whether that be the hardware, the software, training, consulting services, or even things like software utilization and customizing software. So we here on the consulting side of the business, that's part of what we do. And if it's something you've never heard of, feel free to contact us anytime during the webinar, even after the webinar, and we can go ahead and get that scheduled and do a little discovery session with you and your firm to engage in those kind of activities. I also have a co-host with me today, Bryan. Yeah, we've got another Bryan on the call. Sorry, we've got the Y and the I here. Bryan, you can go ahead and give a brief introduction.
Yeah, thank you, Bryan. So I'm Bryan Perez. I'm a senior technical specialist here at US CAD. And so I'm primarily responsible for providing dedicated group and customized training to help increase our customers' skills and knowledge of Autodesk software, as well as implement and help fine-tune your workflows. So whether you're preparing a new project, learning a new software solution, or fine-tuning your processes, the A&E technical team's purpose is to enable our customers to work more efficiently and drive company revenue and project quality to really be able to gain a competitive advantage in the industry.
Awesome intro. Thanks, Bryan. So we're going to do a little bit different today. Nothing's pre-recorded here. We're actually going to go into the Docs platform and do everything live for you today. We want to showcase really this ease of a platform and the ease of a transition. But before we go, and head in that direction, we definitely want to bring up a few things that, a few emerging themes that we've been finding over the past several months. For starters, we've discovered that several of our clients have the AEC collection, which is great, but what sometimes isn't realized is that Autodesk actually snuck in the Docs platform within that collection. So if you have that collection, you have Docs available to you today. And you can do everything we're about to show you in that environment. The next piece of that, and again, Docs, the collections is a fairly large solution. So we just wanted to show you everything that's included with that package. Extremely powerful, and it truly does handle concept to construction delivery. So there's a brief overview of the AEC collection. So the next thing we wanted to touch base on as part of the emergent themes with our clients and our future clients' phone conversations is, we're tackling the hybrid workforce. The tools, the staff, the talent, we're finding it's not so easy to find locally. And quite frankly, people have dispersed all over the regions. And that's not only in the US, but of course that's across the world as well. And we're actually finding that firms are moving their entire infrastructure from on-premise network to the cloud and cloud-hosted services. And that is really enabling that work from anywhere, finding talent from anywhere solution. So literally replacing their internal infrastructure, which, it removes things like the needs for local servers or VPN connections. And of course, all the maintenance that comes with those platforms and those services. So maintenance issues, accessibility issues, downtime issues, those all stem from those more traditional resources. US CAD's A&E team, our architect and engineering team, our consultant team has assisted several firms now in the transition. So this docs presentation is kind of hopefully going to open your eyes to maybe some of the possibilities that you can take advantage of today to enable, the hybrid workforce or global workforce. Okay, Bryan, I will go ahead and give you the next slide here.
Yeah. So like Bryan said, a major component here to tackling the hybrid work environment is centralizing your data storage, and ACC Docs really enables you to centralize all your data storage and manage your blueprints, your 2D plans, your 3D models, and any other project documents that you may be working with on your project, all in one centralized cloud storage location. And what that means is all of your data is backed up. It's protected through easy administration processes in ACC Docs. It allows you to assign permissions, as well as work anywhere, anytime across the globe, even from mobile devices and desktops. So what you're seeing here on the screen are really the benefits to utilizing ACC Docs as one central data source. And what this allows you to do is use your project data and analytics to make more informed decisions about your projects and create more predictable and profitable projects by tracking that data from start, conceptual and design phases, all the way through fabrication and construction. And here on this next slide, what we're looking at is the seamless integration of all the different file types that are able to be stored within ACC Docs, as well as highlighting the Office 365 integration from Microsoft, which actually allows you to collaborate live within your ACC browser and share and edit documents all within one location. And beyond the Microsoft Office 365 integration, there's over 100 different file types that are all viewable right within your ACC Docs browser, which again really allows this tool to be a primary leader in the industry for centralizing data storage. And we can see here on this next slide just a long list to really illustrate again the amount of different viewable file formats which can be stored on the ACC cloud.
Absolutely, thank you. And there's a ton of benefits to these viewable file formats, right? With a traditional network infrastructure, there's not a real good way today to view information that lives on your network. So if you've got a list of Word documents, proposals, Excel sheets, you can't really get a view of that data without actually opening the file. So with Autodesk Docs native viewer, you can actually select the file name, view the documents, and really make sure it's what you want to be looking at or working on before having to actually open it and start working on it. And that goes across the board. You look at all these viewable file formats. You've got 3D files, you've got Navis files, you've got SketchUp. I don't want to say that, but you do have the ability to look at some SketchUp work in here as well. Movie files, JPEGs, images. So this really can traverse your entire network, whether you've got sales organizations looking at Word proposals, PDF documentation, marketing even. Think about the marketing team. The marketing can drag and drop their images, their logos, set that as a prime location to work and collaborate. All of these files can be opened through their native programs. So if you've got something that isn't editable within the Docs browser, you can actually just open something like AutoCAD. You go to open your file, and this all becomes accessible via the desktop connector. So the desktop connector is what's going to allow you to access all of these file types that live on your Docs environment through their native programs. So a lot of exciting stuff there. Now, with that being said, we didn't want to be too heavy on the PowerPoint side of things. We actually just wanted to go ahead and spin up a working environment of how all these pieces can come together. So Bryan, can you see the docs on my screen? Perfect. So envision, if you will, not just thinking about the construction cloud platform as project specific. Oh, I need to create this project so I can enable it for Revit collaboration in the cloud. What if we looked at it a little bit differently and we said, I'm going to create a new project, which is essentially creating a cloud environment, and I'm going to host all my data there. And for this demo, we're just going to be specific as regarding to maybe moving an entire company's folder structure and network to the Docs location. And we actually have this set up all pre-baked with, folder structures set up and subfolders and all the permissions worked out. But we thought it'd be a much better idea to do everything live, just to show you how quick and easy this can be done. Maybe not easy. I know if you have thousands of file types, it might take a little longer, but we're just going to focus on a few files here today. So right from the get-go, you have the ability within Docs to create the environment. Right here, I just went ahead, I started a new hub, and I just called it B&B Inc. So we got myself and we got Bryan Perez on the phone. So our company name is B&B Inc. So we want to talk about maybe moving our company off our infrastructure and onto this platform. So how do we even start with that? Right now, this environment is just, I'm the only one that has accessibility to it today, right now. And it's worth noting that Bryan is all the way out in Nashville, and I'm actually in Las Vegas. So it's 11:15 here. I know it's a few hours later there, a couple hours actually. And we're going to show you how we can instantly start to collaborate and work on files, within just a few minutes. So imagine this is your company. You've got a main project files folder here, and this is basically where everything lives. And Autodesk actually doesn't allow you to rename this or anything because it's kind of the brains of the operation. So let's just go ahead and get started. So under project files, you're going to notice that with everything you create, you've got these three dots, this little selector box here on the right-hand side. So when you select this selector, you can go ahead and add your first folder here. So I'm just going to call this the sales folder. I'm going to go ahead and create another subfolder, and I'm going to go ahead and call this marketing. I'm going to do another one. We're just going to call this projects. Maybe we've got an accounting folder. Pretty simple to create, right? All done. No documentation here yet, but emulating your infrastructure can be done this quickly. So let's be a little bit more specific here. Let's say under marketing, we want to add a subfolder now. And we've got images, we've got maybe the more technical data. Under projects, let's go ahead and say we've got project 1. And we've got project 2, and thank you Autodesk for automatically naming that for me. Sales. Under here, we can say something like close 1. Now let's just go ahead and do one for proposals. So just with a few clicks of a button, I was able to go ahead and enable all these files that are, accessible to anyone, anywhere via the cloud. So with that being said, none of these folders have any permissions set up. None of them have any content within them. So that's where our teammates come into play. And like I said, I'm in Vegas. Bryan is out there in Nashville. So let's go ahead and start making this a collaborative environment. So you see off on the left-hand side here, we've got the members tab. I'm just going to switch to this tab here, and I'm going to go ahead and add a member. And I do have firewall issues. This is most likely not Autodesk. This is my firewall affecting the speed here. All right, so there you go ahead. We got Bryan Perez over there in Nashville. He has been set up on our account, on the account side of things. So The Docs platform allows you to onboard in an account settings fashion, so you can include everybody's emails from your companies, and that's going to allow you to evenly distribute them to the teams. So I'm going to say that we're just going to go ahead and make him a project member for now. And right now you see that Docs and Insight are automatically checked. So I'm going to go ahead and add Bryan to our work shared environment. So Bryan, on your end, if you could just let us know when you receive your notification. It should come through fairly quickly here. So you see here, we got our notification that one project member was added. If you have 30 people, 40 people, 50 people, you can add them all from that screen, hit the invite, and they will all get their email invitations automatically sent by the Autodesk Docs platform. So a few important notes to make here. When you're setting people up on the account admin side, you want to make sure you give them your company credentials as well as a role, because those can come into play down the road when we start talking about assigning permissions to our folders and our folder structures. And that allows you to set by an individual. You can set permissions by a company, or you could set permissions by a role. So if you were thinking about adding, multi-users to permissions, you simply add a role of the company. Everybody that's within that role will have access to that folder. And we'll show you here in a minute what that looks like.
Bryan, I got my notification while you were talking.
Awesome, thank you. And to be clear, I want everybody to check out his permission settings over here. Let me just go ahead and add him to US CAD real quick. And again, this can be done on the account admin side. It doesn't have to be done here. So we're going to go ahead and make Bryan. We're going to give you the architect role today. So you see that all updated here. Now you'll notice that none of the other modules are actually turned on. I thought this was pretty important because a lot of us are used to working in the BIM Collaborate Pro environment, which has all of these features already accessible to them. So I wanted to highlight that we have nothing more than Docs turned on here. And of course, if you check my roles and permissions as well, I only am currently in Docs. So everything we're going to show you here is a Docs feature. So let's go back to our Files tab here. And although we've invited Bryan to this environment, he actually can't see any of these folders. And that is because every folder that you create, every folder and subfolder is actually all done via permissions. And that can go down to a very granular level. You can even control how the user interacts with the folders. You can give them settings that allow them to only view what's on the website. You can allow them to view, download and upload. There's a ton of different settings. So you can completely customize the experience. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and give Bryan access to all these folders. The permission hierarchy is actually done at a top level folder. So if you were to set permissions in this marketing folder, all the permissions would follow suit in images and technical and any subfolder you create. So these permissions in the main folder carry down to the subfolders. If you don't want people having those types of permissions, you can do it per folder level. Just be aware that any subfolder you create, the permissions will carry over. But for the purpose of this demo, let's just go ahead and, again, we're going to select on those three dots. We're going to go ahead and say permissions. So I want to go ahead and add Bryan Perez to our project files. And here is where you can kind of see those settings. So not only can you control permissions per folder or subfolder, but you can then also control what they do within those folders. So I'm going to go ahead and give him edit access so you can see all the different capabilities he has within that permission group. And again, if you've got a marketing team and if you want to give only the marketing team access to marketing, you don't have to add individual people one by one to give permissions to that folder. If you actually added the role to that individual user, you could just say marketing team has access to this folder, and everybody within that role will have access to that folder. So it's kind of like managing a user group. So Bryan, on your end, I gave you permissions to everything we see here. Can you verify that with a page refresh, this is all available to you?
Yep, I can see all of those folders.
Awesome. I think we might have a question. Okay, so we do have a couple questions here. So we're going to go ahead and address these here very shortly. Just bear with us here. Okay, so Bryan, you've confirmed that you got access to these folders. You can see them. So let's start collaborating in our environment. So we've got a whole pile of folders that we took up, and let's just say that, you know, we've got project 1 going on. I've actually got a folder here, structure created of various different file types. You can drag and drop your files into this location. I find sometimes it's easier to go ahead and use the from your computer selection. So you see we've got a bunch of pre-baked files here. So let's just go ahead and select architectural agreement. We'll do the Word and we'll do the PDF. And then we'll add some images here. And I think that should be good for right now. I'm going to go ahead and hit open there. You're going to see that Autodesk is going to start uploading these documents right to project 1. So I'm going to say done. I'm going to let Autodesk Docs prepare our documents for use. So as this processes, you know, with Bryan being on the other side over there, he's already probably seeing these documents take shape.
That's correct.
So we'll see up on the right, we've got 4 documents that have been successfully uploaded. So he already has instant access. So think about anybody in your firm, no matter where they're at, no VPN required, just a docs solution. And I will add that making all this magic happen is part of the Autodesk Desktop Connector solution as well. So make sure you have that installed. So the Desktop Connector by Autodesk, it's a free tool, but it's basically the platform that, not platform, but it's the tool that allows you to connect all your documentation. So if you have files that live on this website, you can open up your native programs and actually link to this website via the Desktop Connector tool. That's what's going to make all this possible. Okay, so with that being said, let's go into some fun features here. We've created a folder structure. We've added a team member. We've permissioned that team member, but maybe now we've got some documents that we want to collaborate on. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this document here. You'll see anything that's selectable here is actually got a built-in viewer. And most importantly, for products on the Microsoft end, if you have a Microsoft 365 account, they have a partnership with Autodesk, which actually enables you to edit their files within the Autodesk Docs environment. And we're actually going to show you that live here. So I've got my, I'm logged into Microsoft 365. I've got some documentation here. So I'm going to go ahead and select this Word document. Any of these documents that you have can be a viewer. So you don't actually need to open the program. You don't have to search for things and maybe open it and realize it's not what you're looking for. So here I went ahead, I opened up this architectural services agreement. Looks great. However, Bryan and I have got maybe some things we need to work on in this document. So I'm going to go ahead and hit edit on this document. You'll notice that I'm not in I didn't open up Word. I'm now working on Word in the cloud via the Autodesk Docs platform. So Bryan, if you could, let's go ahead and go ahead and select that same document, and we're gonna get in the same environment here. So when he logs in, you'll actually be able to see him. There he is right there. So Bryan out in Nashville, no VPN, no network infrastructure to make this happen. I can modify documentation. He sees my name on the other end, and I see his name over here. So I can go ahead and I can delete some of this stuff. Bryan, why don't you go ahead and add some documentation? Perfect. So let's say we've done a 5, 10, 15-minute collaborative session. Maybe we're on a Zoom meeting doing this live like we are today. So you're going to see here that this is already automatically saving back to the Autodesk Docs platform. So there's no file save as to your FTP. There's no extra work that needs to be done at this point. So Bryan, if you're all done over there, you're going to see here that it's saved to Autodesk. It's already done. So at this point, we're done collaborating. All I have to do is hit return. So the Autodesk Docs platform is going to acknowledge that change. And I think another huge benefit of the Docs platform is version control and version history. So the Docs platform allows you to have and store unlimited projects and unlimited data, plus version history and backup. Just going to go ahead and refresh this. Go ahead and get out of there. So you'll see here, you've got your date, your timestamp, and we also have the time. So just like that, the work that we did together is now saved, and it can be accessible again via anybody that has access. And going on to the version control, I mentioned unlimited backups. You could go through and have 100, 200 different version iterations of this document, and it's going to give you that information right here. So if you go ahead and select on that version, you're going to see when it was uploaded, and you're going to see the most current version. Now, any version that you have that you've saved to is going to show up here. So you could actually copy that file to a new location, or perhaps maybe this document, we deleted a bunch of information accidentally. You could actually go to any previous version and actually download that copy and copy and paste that into your existing document. So you're not ever losing anything. And that does work with all file types that we showed on the PowerPoint. So it's super powerful with that regards. So Bryan, on your end, I've uploaded this information. Can you go ahead and upload maybe some more of the documentation into, let's just go ahead and put it in project 1 for now.
Yeah, certainly.
So we've got some different file formats. We've got Excel formats. I know we've got some PDFs. We also have some SketchUp files and format files as well.
Be seeing those any moment.
So Steve had a question here. I'm going to get to questions. Oh, and you can see on my screen, Bryan, that quickly went ahead and uploaded some documentation, and we're already seeing it process over here in Las Vegas. So extremely quick. So we got a question from Steve here. He said, after a project is made, and I know folders can be set up inside templates, instead of creating folders one by one, is there a way to drag folders from a network drive into the cloud project? As I'm aware today, the drag and drop of one folder and it carrying all that documentation is not available yet. I know it's been a request that I'm actually on the forums a lot, and I see that one. So I don't think they have that one available yet. We have another question from Brad here. As these files continue to process, this looks very similar to BIM 360 Docs. Yeah, absolutely. So with Autodesk rebranding and transitioning to their new Autodesk Construction Cloud platform, BIM 360 Docs is Autodesk Construction Cloud Docs. It is Autodesk Docs just rebranded, but with more capabilities and more features. Is this demo a preview of what Docs will become or separate services? If they're separate, what are the difference between 360 and Docs? Yeah, so you can go ahead and create, right now, there's two environments, right? You can create projects in Docs, BIM 360 Docs, but you can also create projects in the Autodesk Construction Cloud. What we're showing you today is the Autodesk Construction Cloud, and this is where you're going to get the most features. This is what Autodesk is actively building on. Okay, so we've got some files here from Bryan. Thank you very much. So AutoCAD files is another big topic that we like to talk about. The storage of those and accessibility. So Bryan, at this time, why don't we go ahead and I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll hand it over to you, because a unique feature I think of the Docs platform is, you see, we can both access this DWG file. I don't have AutoCAD on my machine, but if I did, and Bryan had this file open, it actually won't allow me to open and edit it. I can open it natively in AutoCAD, but I can't actually edit it. Whereas Bryan, if he's the first one to open it, he can edit the file and also save it right back to the Docs solution. So once again, you know, it's that real-time collaboration. Are you ready to go ahead and open up that floor plan?
Yep.
Perfect. I'm going to stop my share here and hand it over to you real quick.
Alrighty. Can everyone see my AutoCAD here?
Good.
Cool. So I'll drive here to my Autodesk Docs panel. And here I can immediately see that floor plan DWG that was just uploaded to that project space.
So go ahead and switch to the B&B Inc. workspace.
Sorry about that, it switched on me.
Just type in B. Try doing capital B. You might have to close out of your AutoCAD and reopen it. Has it been open this entire time?
No.
Well, with that being said, on his end, if he were to open up AutoCAD, he would actually be able to go open AutoCAD, go to open file through the desktop connector, open the floor plan from Docs. At that point, moving forward on my end, I'm actually going to see a little lockbox, which is going to show me that it's actually in editing mode and someone's working on it. So when Bryan does the work in DWG, hit save, it's actually going to sync back to the Docs platform. So on this end, if I had AutoCAD, there it is right there. You just need a little refresh.
So I'll drive to that project one folder.
There's his AutoCAD. So once he does some modifications here, as I was saying, and Bryan, if you could, I'm gonna switch over to me real quick. I want everybody to see on my end what I have now. So you notice over here, we've got this lock file here. So at this point moving forward, yes, I absolutely can use the Autodesk Docs viewer and I can view this information, which again is just the viewer, but I can't actually open and edit the file. And if I had AutoCAD, I could open the file, but it's going to put me in viewer only mode. It's not going to allow me to make any saves. So be very conscious of that. So that being said, Bryan, if you could go ahead and do a save to that document and close out of that file.
Saved and closed.
Perfect. And with that, Once it syncs with the system, which should happen here very quickly, you're going to see that anytime you hit save to docs, it's actually going to automatically version it for you. So that will switch to a V2 once it syncs. So while that's being done, a couple key areas that we want to touch on were, we only have about 5 minutes left already. Another unique part of using Docs as a system here. Oh, look at that. It's already done it. So your version 2 is last save is already syncing to the cloud. Perfect. So with a lot of these viewable file types, I think something that's very key to mention, whether it's images, whether it's files that you have on PDFs, but you actually have the ability to do markups and issues within this environment. So if Bryan and I were sitting here and he just said, hey, I finished that CAD layout. Does it make sense? Can you look at the JPEG and figure out, if they're looking good together? So I can use the native markup tools within the Docs viewer. So you see over here, I've got a bunch of tools available to me regarding markups. I can add text. I can add a ton of information to that text. Oops, I closed out of it. Wrong button. I can also cloud things. And this happens, you can do this today on PDFs, your JPEGs, your images, any file source available. Another key factor here is the issues. Let's say you're collaborating on a project and you want to make these actionable items and assignable to your team. You can come in here and say, hey, the client said that, I know this is just a sketch, but hey, the client said that, they want a better bar top or they want a different material. You could actually put an issue on your documentation, give it some criteria, and actually assign that to individuals within your firm. And again, you have the ability to add one individual, or you have the ability to add a company or even a role. And when you assign that to a company or a role, they're going to get an automatic email notification with a link directly to that issue that they can then address. And of course, there's a feedback loop built into that as well. So any issues you create, you're going to have a feedback loop with questions. You can include images. Maybe you want to attach files or specs to your issue. That's all possible. I'm going to go back here and check out the floor plan for a second. And it's worth noting that some of your documentations, as far as PDF, DWGs, and Revit files, you actually have the ability to compare the files as well. So you can actually highlight and see what has changed between the documents without ever having to open them and refer to some kind of a change log through an email. So you can kind of see how easy it is to work back and forth as a team on several environments and several engagements. And again, all of this stuff is folder permissionable. So if you only want your accounting team to see this folder, you only add the accounting team and maybe a couple pieces of the executive leadership. All right, we only have 3 minutes left already. Crazy. Also, I had a question the other day, which I thought was pretty awesome, was, okay, so we've got all our files here, how do we communicate that? A couple different ways. You can actually do transmittals inside of the Docs platform. So you can enter recipients, you can give it a title, you can allow the recipients to see other recipients, or you can only see that it was sent to yourself, and you can add all your documentation here. Include a short message, you hit create, and this is actually going to create a transmittal to your project team or whoever you added to your recipient list. Furthermore, if you don't want to go through creating a transmittal, you can absolutely pull up. Is my screen still sharing?
Yep, can see your email.
Perfect. So additionally, let's say I wanted to communicate to members outside and I wanted to include some files for them. This is where the desktop connector comes into play again, using your native platform to include documentation. So you can go ahead, and this takes a minute to sync, But once this syncs with all the information we have, it's actually going to allow you to include data that exists in that project. So I can go ahead and multi-select and go ahead insert, and that's going to pull it from your docs right into your email. And there you have your attachments. So think of any native program you have, whether it's Photoshop, Excel, anything. You can access all the documents that live on Docs in your native platforms. And the next big piece we want to touch on, and again, we're just on the files section here. You can do things like create reviews. So if you've got a proposal that you want to have reviewed by many stakeholders, you can actually create a review process for your documentation. So you see, I've got one set up here already, and this is basically saying, hey, with stuff in my proposals folder, I want to make sure that persons X, Y, and Z review my proposal and they approve it. And you can set up a single person review. It can be multiple people that have to review and approve documentation. Several different ways to do that, but allows you to get an approval on your documents before issuing it. You over here, you've also got a transmittal page, and this is going to catalog and show you any transmittals you've sent, who sent it and who it was sent to. You also have an issues log, so any issues you create, it's all going to be visible here. And you can also create reports of this. So if you wanted to filter down by an issue type or an issue by a client, that's all available within the filtering tools. And you can export all these issues via an Excel document or a PDF. And the PDF is actually really neat because it is actually a live link in the PDF to the website. You can do things like issue reports. You see they've got a bunch of templates here for that report creation. And last but not least, what I wanted to touch on was the new bridge feature. So right now we're looking at more of an internal infrastructure about how you store, manage, and collaborate on your information. But let's say a project kicks off. You definitely want to create a new project environment to enable your consultants on the outside or external team members to collaborate on that project. And the new bridge feature is going to allow you to take your information from your, let's just say, B&B Inc. platform. It's going to allow you to select and share information to your new hub. And this is going to enable that cross-cloud hub collaboration moving forward. So no more having to download all your information and re-upload. The bridge is going to handle that cross-platform communication. And I know we're already 2 minutes over, so I think we need to wrap up our session. So we appreciate everyone's time today. If you're interested in exploring the Docs platform a little more and you'd like some guidance, please feel free to reach out to the US CAD team. We're more than happy to assist you in the transition and maybe go over a lot more of the functions and features that we might not have been able to get to today. Please reach out to us. If you've got AEC collections, try this today. If you want to try this as a standalone product, you can do that as well. Go ahead and reach out to the US CAD team. We can get you set up with the Docs licenses and get this platform, engaged for you. So with that being said, if we have any questions that aren't answered, we'll be sure to get back to you after this webinar presentation and address those questions. So we appreciate your time, everybody. Next week, we'll be back again going over the BIM Collaborate tool live in person again. All right. Thank you, everyone.